Divorced men have read it. What moment with your former wife made me think, yup, I'm asking this girl to divorce me. Besides the narcissism, random violence, and violent outbursts, it was her strange punishments. Her last one doomed her. My crime? I forgot milk on the way home from work, so she didn't talk to me, not one word, for a week. Pure bliss for a week. When she asked if I was ready to apologize, I handed her the divorce papers. Why? Because you robbed me of solitude but provide me with no companionship. We were already not speaking. It was Thanksgiving. I knew she wasn't going to bother, but I made a turkey and whatever goes with turkey for my then 8-year-old daughter. I had the turkey out on the counter to rest after roasting. My beloved bride walked in, calmly threw the turkey in the kitchen trash can, and walked out. I had to take my kid to fucking Golden Corral for Thanksgiving. That was it. I was done. When we went on a family vacation, and I hoped she'd sleep the entire time so I could have fun with our son. Feels like vacations are a good litmus test to see if you're both still in love. There's a sports journalist I follow who takes his wife on holiday every year to do a sort of intervention, to reassess their relationship and family goals. When I went on my final vacation with my family, Rent's plus brother, everyone just fought with each other, and it made me realize how dysfunctional we were and that it was just better for me to move out ASAP. My sister said something similar about her ex. He had to go out of town for a business trip, and she found that being a single parent was less work than having him be around. Then he fucked one of her friends, and her first thought was, finally, an excuse to kick him out. I was on deployment, and she yelled at me for interrupting her family's celebration when I called on Christmas. When the cops showed up and arrested me while I was washing dishes, found out after being taken to the station that she had claimed that I had been beating on her and my 5-year-old son. Was acquitted in court a month or so later. The situation was so messed up that the cops actually testified on my behalf. I was working on a mother-daughter scrapbook as a Christmas present for her. Was going through her Google Photos account looking for pics of them together. Came across a selfie she took with some dude laying on her. Confirmed her second affair. Knew it was over the moment I saw it. That has fucked me up pretty good. Wait, second? So you gave her a second chance, and she still fucked around on you? What the fuck? Yep. Tried to forgive her and make it work for our daughter's sake after the first affair. Thought she had changed. What a fool I was. When I came to the sad realization that we were just good roommates, and had been like that for years. We have been divorced for almost 10 years and she is one of my favorite people in the world. We just weren't supposed to be married. My neighbor's wife screaming, "Putana!" downstairs after she caught my bride and her husband fucking in front of the fireplace. This happened to one of my parents' friends. Both couples did a swap and are now happily married. My dad cheated on my mom when I was 12. A couple weeks after she kicked him out, my mom started dating my dad's girlfriend's husband. I hated all of them. When a friend's wife said to me, "You know your wife is sleeping with my husband." I can't live in this house anymore. It's not in a major city. Me, we're less than an hour away from one. Also, I inherited this house. It costs me nothing but upkeep. Also, I pay every bill. You work 6 hours a week and have one class. Where do you get off demanding anything? Buy me a new house or we're done. Me, get the fuck out of my house. 15 years in, and I find texts on her phone. Completely blindsided. No clue she had it in her to cheat. Told me it was just texting. Begged for forgiveness. I caved. A month later, checked the phone bill to find that it never stopped. Confronted her again. Cue more begging and more denial on my part that she would let the life we had built go down in flames. This went on for a few months. So many promises. One night, I caught her on the phone when she thought I had left. Suddenly it's not just texts. Sometimes it was phone calls too. Just a friend she could talk to that she let things go too far with. Promised to break all contact. Swore it was never physical. Then I found emails. She detailed things that made me sick to read, but also included descriptions of his house. She broke finally, but swore it was all just in the line of duty. That's how she met, you see? Visiting nurse service, and this guy was a client. Promised she was done. Loved me, you see? No chance she was going to let 15 years go like that. I wasn't buying it anymore, though. She announced she was going out one night with a work friend. Promised they were only going to the bar, then she'd be home. Maybe late, but not too late. She had taken over her own phone account by then, but wasn't bright enough to understand that Google Latitude was still showing me where she was, and I wasn't about to show my hand. She kissed me goodbye and beelined right for his house, and was there until the wee hours of the morning. Once I knew where she had headed, I called her dad and my best friend to keep me from doing anything dumb. I will love them both forever for keeping me calm while my world went fucking insane all around me. My father-in-law offered to stay with the kids and wait for her to get home. Around 3 a.m., while couch surfing my buddy's place, she sent me a nasty text asking where the fuck I thought I was. I texted her a screenshot of her little GPS dot at her boyfriend's and let her know I'd be sending her some paperwork soon. When she staged a robbery of our house so she could pawn all of my shit for drug money. Finding her, on Christmas Eve, still sexting a coworker whom she claimed she was no longer in contact with, having been busted sexting him previously, also. I cleared out of there like a blackjack dealer. When she physically attacked me in front of our then 11-year-old son, I'd been pondering the idea for a while. That was the clincher. I used to love to do chores for her because she loved being taken care of. When she stopped noticing, it started hurting. Then one day I made a bench for our entryway out of barnwood. Took about 40 hours of work. She walked in the house after work that day and sat her purse on it, and proceeded to start the fight where she told me that she was mad she got married to me. She stormed out of the house grabbing her purse. Never noticed the bench was there. I knew then, but I think she already knew. When she said, "You didn't pray hard enough and that's why our son has cancer. That's why I'm sleeping with my prayer partner." My wife was around less and less, had to be free to live her life, go out with her friends. More often than not she would call me to pick our daughter up from daycare. After promising to pick her up and have some girl time, just tell her I'm working late or not feeling well. She always had something better to do and the kids were old enough to know better. I went to pick our daughter up one day. When they called her name, she came running over until she saw it wasn't Mom, again, slumped her shoulders and slowly walked over to ask, "What's her excuse this time?" That was the breaking point. Told her to get out, even helped pay her security deposit to get her out. Our daughter at 3 years old told us to stop yelling. When my stepdaughter became a teenager, my ex ramped up the nutso. She had always been an impatient, angry screamer of a parent. But as my stepdaughter became a young woman, my ex just went crazy with envy or something. I know lots of moms have a hard time with teenage daughters, but their base level patience is so much better than my ex's was. Threats of cutting hair in middle of night while daughter slept, pulling hair, slapping face, ridiculing in front of her friends, swinging something that missed and put a hole in the wall. I was out with the kids. We met and spent the first 7 years of our married life on the West Coast, then moved east. 5 years later, I took a job back on the West Coast, but it was the middle of the school year, so I went out ahead and lived on my own until everyone could join me. Things hadn't been very good between us for a while, but I hadn't articulated it to her, or even myself, beyond vague feelings of dissatisfaction. One weekend, out there on my own, I decided to take a day and drive to one of my favorite towns, a town in which I had lived long before I knew her, a town we had visited often while married. It was late afternoon, was about to head back to my hotel when I realized that I could visit a particular beach that had special meaning to me from my earlier life there. I stopped at a convenience store, grabbed a gross like I used to drink on that beach, and drove out there. Hiked out to a specific spot I remembered, sat down, popped the beer, and looked out over the ocean. And it hit me that I hadn't done that in over 20 years. Whenever we'd visit the area, I'd suggest stopping at the beach, but she wasn't interested and would always veto the idea. I'm sure reading this it seems like the tiniest thing, but it was the catalyst for me realizing just how completely dissatisfied I was with our relationship. I think from the time I sat down, I knew it was over within maybe 10 minutes. Just sitting there, sipping my beer, looking at the ocean. I left for work at 6 a.m. and forgot to unplug the toaster. When I arrived home at 6 p.m., I was given the "everything you've ever done to piss me off" speech, just for leaving the toaster plugged in. I asked her what she did all day that prevented her from unplugging it herself. Another, "I'm an a-hole" speech. I said something to the effect of "quit acting like your fucking mother." She threw the cat at me. A cat. She threw a fucking cat at me. There were many reasons, but this was the final straw. My grandmother was on her deathbed. My ex took this time to throw a childish fit because I ordered food that she didn't like. I realized at that point how completely miserable I was and how fucking short life is. So we divorced. She took all my money and my kids. I've still never been happier, and every time I have to interact with her it blows my mind that we made it 9 years. I guess when we were together I was so trained to comply and overlook. I now see what an absolute toxic bully she was. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.